What's up, you guys? I'm going to talk about how I'm incorporating this Concept2 rower into my resistance training workouts, or resistance training, more hypertrophy based workouts, utilizing that Weider Ultimate Body Works or a total gym. Or really, if you're someone who's just looking about incorporating rowing, getting into rowing and incorporating it into, like I said, more of a hypertrophy based strength training workout, especially more at the home. And I think based on the stuff, if you guys are new to this channel, or if you guys previously watched my channel, you guys know that I utilize the total gym or Weider Ultimate Body Works machine a lot. And I think these two really complement each other, and I'll kind of talk about why. But it goes without saying that obviously, if you like rowing, or if you don't like rowing, this whole thing isn't going to work, and you're not going to like it. But in an unboxing video, I talked about if you're going to get into rowing, the Concept2 is a no-brainer because of the fact you can compete. Everything's kind of calibrated to this monitor online. You can do great statistics as far as knowing what you're rowing at, what was your previous row times, and just a lot of good data coming out of that little monitor of a Concept2, which makes this really the fun part of rowing, is the progression of rowing. So I didn't just buy this machine just to simply have just a simple workout machine to kind of cash out on, like I do with like my fan bike or my Airdyne bike. Basically, that's kind of what that was used for. I really wanted to get into rowing. So in order to kind of get into something and be really specific and train with specificity, I really wanted to add more frequency. So kind of what I do incorporating this machine into my workouts is I'm basically kind of subbing out my leg days to incorporate more time for rowing throughout the week, because rowing is really kind of a total body sport, and that's what makes it great. Basically, most of that effort is coming from the legs, but obviously you got the back. You can see as I'm kind of swinging out of this, and then a little bit in the arms. What you don't want to do is like have it all just a pull. And I'll be honest, I'm still kind of working on that. In fact, a lot of this, what you're seeing now, is just a 5,000 meter workout. I think I finished this one at like 21 minutes and 40 something seconds. I remember that because this was fairly recent. And right now I'm just kind of getting back into relearning, kind of get the technique down, which I'm still kind of to work on. Getting down, just kind of getting comfortable with longer distances, and just again getting myself slowly acclimated back in the machine, not forcing anything, not doing anything crazy, just slowly getting into it. And so, like I said, in order to do that, you really have to just be specific about it. You're not going to be really awesome at rowing by just doing it occasionally and just doing short bursts. So you might do pretty good if you're just a pure strength training athlete, like you squat a lot, you deadlift a lot, you're a raw strength athlete. You can do pretty good in short distances, but that's not going to fly in the longer distances, where a lot of it comes into endurance and technique. And that's what rowing really is, a power endurance sport, which is what is really cool. And again, how it's kind of relatable to the Weider Ultimate Body Works and with what I'm doing, especially not having access to like barbells and squat racks and things like that. If you actually, I'll link a video down below, and I'll also link again Concept2 rower too. I think this is the best rower if you're gonna get something like this. That there's a video that was kind of circulated a lot during the Olympics that basically showcased how the long and short of it was how the Olympic rower that they kind of highlighted compared to elite. I think they had swimming, I think they had professional NFL, they even had elite NFL, and then they basically said how the rower actually had the highest peak leg strength. And that shouldn't be too surprising, given that it's very leg dominant, despite what some people might think. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, basically it's not the same thing as, like, do I feel like I'm really going to be sacrificing my leg strength by not doing quote unquote legs with resistance training? I don't really think so, especially when you got to consider, you have to weigh everything basically here, that based on the limited time that I have, if I want to incorporate more sessions per week in order to get good, or just get kind of decent, start progressing, I have to make room for that. If I just say, well, I'll do a row session after my leg workout, or a row session even after my upper body workout, both of them are going to interfere. So I had to kind of sacrifice my Tuesday, Friday leg workouts to just doing a little more rowing, and then again, even on Wednesday I'll do some rowing, and I think maybe sometimes one day of the weekend, on the weekend, I'll do a rowing, like a Saturday or Sunday. So trying to get at least 4 days of quality row, and just kind of slowly getting into it. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and why I think they kind of go well together is, again, you might say, well, or let's just say this argument, if you do a lot of rowing, is that going to make you a really good squatter or a strong squatter? I would say definitely no. They're two separate things we have to consider, and vice versa. Just because you're a really good squatter or deadlifter is not going to make you a really good rower. There's different mechanics going on, and there's different ways the tension is kind of set, different ways you're kind of pulling from different angles. Like a squat, obviously there's barbell on your back, the weight is kind of more axial loading on your back. So it's a couple different stimuluses. I'm not saying one is inherently better than the other, But my point is, you still, as far as just leg development or leg training, leg strength is concerned, they're both going to be increasing strength, and especially if you look at power output, especially, or peak power output. Again, you guys can watch the video and look at that below. I think the person does mention that they do some strength training, but that's something else that I think isn't maybe as obvious as you might think. If you look at a lot of rowing related forums, or you look at rowing communities, they kind of talk about that if you want to get good at rowing, just like any other sport, you have to row. Some people's I've read some little forums and threads a while ago that basically said of people that they tried a lot of hard strength training sessions and it didn't really do much for their rowing, as far as just getting out there and actually rowing. So I'm not saying that strength training is going to impair your rowing, only in the sense that if you're someone like me who's trying to get good back into the sport of rowing, if you do too much strength training that it's now affecting your actual total row time, that's going to be an issue, especially when you're talking about a little bit longer distances and say like the 500 meters or like 1,000 meters or something like that. So if you're someone who's totally new and you're kind of watching this, you don't know what I'm talking about, as far as like you're just learning about some of these row things from the first time. Why I think this is awesome is because it does add that element, one, of cardio into your workouts. It adds that element of competition a little bit, or progressing at something. It can seem very monotonous, like why would you want to sit there? And it's me, of all people, I can kind of get bored really easily. I'm not someone who gets really into cardio, but this I get really into. If anything, my biggest problem is what I'm trying to really work on is trying to be strict about getting better at the actual sport and trying different things with cadences and workout plans. So that's what kind of makes this fun, versus I used to just go on there and just kind of go all out for a 2,000 meter and finish at 7 minutes and something seconds, and that would be great. That, and I'm not saying I might not never do that, but that can kind of get old. I don't know if that's really worth buying this big machine just to give yourself a really hard workout. That definitely could be the case, but what really makes this machine shine is you progressing, you yourself getting better. And so with that, incorporating that kind of whole aspect, along with the cardiovascular peak power output you get from, and also the leg development, leg training that you get from this machine, I think it makes it worth it. Also considering too, I mean, this, not just the legs, but this really, if you're going to do cardio, if you're going to go out and just sit on a bike and pedal, or even run, I mean, there's so many things. I don't make this a whole video talking about why rowing is so good, but it's low impact, so it's awesome for all ages. If anything, I could say does it maybe aggravate people's backs if you do it for a long period of time? Yeah, I would say if anything, if it gets like that, you just that's where you have those off days. That's where you incorporate your other training days. That's where you kind of, I mean, if it's aggravating your back that much, maybe you just kind of gradually ease into it. But what I love about it is that it does work weaker areas in most people. So you do get a chance to work your back and like those extensor muscles that are kind of lengthened and weakened as we kind of sit in chairs all day. We do get that pulling motion in the upper back and areas of the shoulders that generally kind of weaken people that don't necessarily work. And obviously the most important thing is you get a lot of leg, even glutes. I'll do a whole video actually talking about how the glutes are definitely involved with this exercise, not just kind of quads, and definitely even hamstrings. So great overall workout that I can't say enough about, that I think is beneficial to everybody. I think if I'm someone who can kind of get into it, I think everybody can get into it. And so I'll put some more videos of this up in the future, just kind of my progression into rowing as well. So I'm still kind of learning a lot, even in this video, which again, you're not going to see the whole thing. Towards the end, I start playing with a little bit different technique, and also the rate towards the end, and even my pull I started messing with a little bit more, because even as I'm watching this, I'm noticing some things that I thought I was doing and I realized I'm not doing correctly that I was watching this. So hopefully this was somewhat informative. If you guys are thinking about incorporating this into your workout, again, basically I'm summarizing and saying I'm just incorporating this as my leg day. Doesn't mean I'll never do any legs, any kind of sole leg workouts. I definitely from time to time will get back into a gym, something that has barbells, just to kind of stay fresh on some barbell pulling and squatting. And definitely I think squatting in general, even without a barbell, is going to be beneficial. So I'm not saying to ignore that, but I think rowing can be just an awesome asset to any of your guys' programs. So any questions, comments, feedback about this, it's always appreciated, and thanks for watching.